Welcome to the 2005 season, or 2012 season 5, Code A. This is the evening session. I am Wolf alone today here in the GSL studio in Bokdong, Seoul, Korea. And this is a pretty sick line of matches. We had an earlier session this afternoon. We saw a lot of really cool play out of everybody, really, that we saw. We saw aggressive play out of Maru. We saw Jokji try to play the late game against Zerg and fail. We saw Protoss versus Terrans all around. We saw great multitasking. Highly recommend checking out those matches. You got to see San Zenith back in action again. See if he actually gets through the GSL or not. You can look up those results. We're going to have a look at some of the results later on today as well. So make sure before that happens, I'll actually tell you so you can actually turn off you can mute and alt tab so you don't get spoiled. Of course, back again this season, the Hot 6 is sponsoring the GSL. And I'm here casting alone while everyone else is in China, including my two DT co-casters I used to do the Lone Wolf with. They are also in China right now, so I'm really alone here. But I know that even though I'm alone right now, all of you guys at home are watching, and that's what makes everything okay. So make sure you tell your friends to tune in. Right now we have an own 3D stream and a Twitch stream at the same time going on here. So if you normally use the GOM player and one of your friends who's been wanting to watch the GSL didn't know how to watch it, couldn't figure out how to install the GOM player, for example, or just never bothered to do it, definitely tell them now. Send them those links. I just tweeted them at Proxwell. If you can look at my Twitter, both of those links, you can tell your friends to go and look at my Twitter or just go to GOMTV.net. Hit the live page at the little live button up at the top. Click on that and you'll have both the Own3D and the Twitch logins, or not logins, but you click on it, it opens a pop-up window with the stream. So tell your friends to go and watch that if it's their first time. We got some Brood War pros coming in today. We've got old schoolers like MC. Here's the list. Happy versus Sano. This is actually earlier this morning, and I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. So if you didn't watch the matches, you plan on watching the VODs, cover your ears, mute the TV, Alt-tab, do what you need to do. But here are two of our winners, of course. First of all, Boong Boong did advance. And he's one of the new players from the team MGA. He's being coached by Hannibal right now. It was Nada's, I don't want to call it his failed team. He just didn't have enough time to actually stick around and follow through with it. You can see Happy was able to advance as well, getting a haircut here. And he says it's the last chance this year to go into Code S, so definitely wants to be able to do that. Both of these players have earned their right to get the up and down spot, as well as staying in Code A. Now here are all of our results. Happy takes out San 2-1, Lucira over Maru, Boong Boong takes out Jokji, and last but not least, First was able to 2-1 Supernova there at the end. So a bunch of close matches today, but you'll notice that only one Terran was able to advance. That's Happy, despite the fact that we had a Terran in every single best of 3. Only Happy was able to do it. Otherwise, we've got 2 Zergs and a Protoss advancing to the second round. That makes San, Maru, Jokji, and Supernova all completely out of the GSL, falling down to Code B. Now here are tonight's matches. These are going to be insane. First of all, we have the newly teamless Genius up against Hyvaa, someone who's been around for some time in Brood War, some you guys probably already heard of. Sparta up against someone that if you haven't heard of Fantasy, you probably should do some research. He is going to be playing. He did qualify from Code B, no seed here. And third match is going to be MC against Bravo, another qualifying player. Really surprising to see MC in the first round of Code A, but he's got something to prove. If he loses, he'll be in Code B. And last but not least, Sirius, an up-and-coming Zerg player from Team FXO, plays against Jaedong, one of the most famous players StarCraft 1 and now into StarCraft 2 has ever seen. This is going to be exciting. Now, where do we start? We start with Genius versus Hyvaa, and I can't wait. To be honest, I think Genius has been struggling a little bit to practice because of the situation going on with Slayers. Up against Hyvaa here, who actually in the booth looks almost like a teddy bear or maybe even a Muppet, I'm not sure. But looks very handsome in that photo that you have to see there with his STX jacket. There are so many different STX jackets, I can't even keep track of them. Seriously, how many jackets have they made? There's so many. Now you can see his record is none. This is his first time playing in a GSL. He's never touched a keyboard in that booth until today. Whereas Genius, going from the up and downs, he did not get out of his group. Ranked 8th, actually. And look at his record. He's played almost 100 games in total, and he's got over a 54% win ratio there. And that's actually pretty impressive if you look at it just like that. That's so many games played to have an over 50% win ratio. That means you're definitely one of the best of the best. It's been around for a long time. So remember, this is one of our danger days. This is the day where we already had 4 players fall out. 4 more players are going to fall out of the GSL, having to go through the preliminaries. People lose their careers over this. People retire over this Code A day. You know, some people don't even make it this far. Genius was someone who's been in Code S. He was in up and downs. Now he's here. He's on his last legs. If he screws up here, it's all over. Hyvaa, on the other hand, this is his fresh start, and he wants to make something of it as well. The first map is going to be Whirlwind for this Protoss versus Zerg. A pretty good Zerg map, but nonetheless, Genius is such an unpredictable opponent for Hyvaa to play against, even though he's got a lot of matches to study against Genius. I gotta say, even if you study Genius's matches, you don't really know what he's going to do. And on the other hand, Genius has not really been able to study Hyvaa's style at all. Hyvaa's never played in the GSL before. It's much harder to find matches with him in StarCraft 2. Hasn't been playing StarCraft 2 as long. The map is up and loaded, as mentioned before. It is Whirlwind. This is the GSL Code A, casted, of course, by the Lone Wolf. Genius up against Hyvaa, first on the match.
And back up in the raves again. We got the crowd on the wave like it's a stadium. Call me the weatherman, it's about to be a great weekend.
Starting to the bottom right, formerly MVP, then Slayers. He started out on Nex. This guy has gone through a lot of transitions. He's really smart. Some might say he's even
genius.
He actually called himself that. Self-proclaimed genius, wearing the acclaimed GSL hoodie that you wear when you're teamless. His opponent down here, the bottom left, from the team STX Seoul, a very strong Zerg player, very well known in Brood War. This is his debut in StarCraft 2 in the GSL. He is
STX Seoul hyvaa,
otherwise known as Hyvaa. I guess I gotta start calling him Hyvaa now. I'm gonna try my best. You can see he's definitely gotten a lot older. Now, Genius starting to the bottom right here on a big map is actually doing something crazy. He's going for a gateway first in his main base. He's got a somewhat of a wall set up, but even so, if a bunch of Lings get into your main base and you do a build like this, you find yourself in a lot of trouble. Really brave here by Genius. Now, you will be relieved to know that Legend is actually doing the game directing today, as mentioned there, up by that CG that popped up. The Observer we had earlier today was a stand-in, so not the best Observer the world has ever seen, but it did suffice. Hatchery is down, of course. Hyvaa going for pool first here, allowing him to make 6 Lings right at the start. Core placement here is not really going to help him out with his wall. Genius has something tricky plan, and I want to know what it is. Only time will tell. Map win rate for Genius, 2-1 is actually 66.6%, but pretty good rate, whereas Hyvaa, of course, has never played on this map. See the double extractor trick here, having to make that Overlord, in fact. He did that to get the extra queen out, as Legend is highlighting. Win rate versus Protoss, obviously Genius having the better win rate over Zerg than Hyvaa's non-appearance. Hyvaa, that is. Now, Hyvaa actually sent his Lings to the wrong location. This is not going to be useful at all. In fact, since he made 8 instead of 6, that would have been awesome against the Nexus first, or against the build that Genius is doing right now. The problem is that, well, he went the wrong way. And so Hyvaa's going to be very disappointed with this. He took a gamble. He saw no Nexus, so he thought, no way. No way. I did not see this one coming. He's actually just going to do a 4-gate. Like a 2010 straight out of release 4-gate. The build that's probably gotten me 70% of my wins against Zerg. Back when I was playing, when this strategy was viable. And he doesn't see! He doesn't see it! Oh, he has no idea! He knows the starting location, only he has seen not a single structure, and he's making 6 drones right now. He needs an Overlord too. He better start that right away. He's actually going to get a blast from the past. Hiva, welcome to StarCraft 2, says Genius. Now, this Ling run by is going to be a problem. Normally, when you do a 4-gate, your gateway and your core are part of your wall at the top of your ramp, but in this case, it's not so. 2 Zealots warping in here, but 2 Stalkers up at the front, and there's nothing. I repeat, nothing that Hiva has to defend. He's making 2 Spine Crawlers desperately. The Lings are cleaned up. He doesn't even micro them. And that Probe should be making a forward pylon right now. You might as well make one right behind the mineral line. 2 Spine Crawlers will actually finish, but with the position of Genius's units, he can actually camp the mineral line and then start to pick away at that hatchery. This strategy was so strong 2 years ago, and it faded out of existence in this matchup practically. Do you see it maybe 1 out of 200 games in professional matches, but it's back, and Genius says it's here to stay maybe. Pylon is a little bit late, as I mentioned before. And I'm surprised Genius is not making that more forward warping point. He's also not sending his 2 Zealots. That may be because he wants to have them to spot Lings and also to perhaps defend. But I find it a bit odd the way he's done this. Now, speed is almost done. It's not quite there yet. Overlord is also blocking supply block, or Hiva is supply blocked by that Overlord. He can't quite get it out yet. He wants to target down the Spine Crawler. Nice micro so far. The Zealots are ready to tank the damage. Stalkers and Lings have the same speed off creep and on creep. The Lings do have that speed bonus, and speed metabolic boost is about to finish. More Zealots coming in here without a Roach Warren. Genius can make pure Zealot right now. In fact, he's pulled out of gas back at home. This looks really bad for Hiva. The Stalkers adding some extra DPS. The Zealots shred through the Zerglings. And Genius, he is so unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. Even though metabolic boost is done, so is Hiva. 16 Lings going to come out. They're going to spawn on top of Zealots and Stalkers and die basically instantly here in the natural. And I think that's going to be all that she wrote in game number 1. Genius warps in 4 additional Zealots, knowing there's no Roach Warren, and Genius will take game number 1 with a very old strategy, now targeting down the hatchery. And I don't know what Hiva's hoping for, but this game is over. Goes for a Ling run by here, but all it's going to take is a warp in at home, and Genius will seal the deal. I don't know what else to say. In fact, I should probably save my voice for the rest of this cast. 14 Lings coming out. He sends these Lings back, but it's not going to matter. Hiva's very persistent here, does not want to leave the game. The Spine Crawler doesn't even get a poke. The last of the Lings die, and GG. Genius takes game number 1 with a 4 warp gate push. Oldest trick in the book. Right now, nobody wants to face a Zerg in the late game, and I mean nobody. Genius being no exception here, shuts him down early, and Hiva would have had to use a time machine to know that build was coming. Had he scouted Genius first with his initial 8 Lings, this game would have been very different. Not only would he have been able to get some probe kills very likely, but he would have seen the 4 gate, would have been able to prepare accordingly, would have had his Spine Crawlers up earlier. Honestly, this game comes down to bad luck for Hiva. Very bad luck indeed. Now, map number 2. I'm going to get an invite to the lobby very soon. I'll let you guys know what it is right away. What a crazy build we just saw, though, from Genius. I'm really surprised to see a build like that in this year, this day and age. 2012, Genius says maybe the world is going to come to an end before 2012 ends, so he's going to try one more 4-gate. The question is, what does he do in game number 2? And before that question can be answered, the question of what map is it will have to be answered as well. Genius looks very stressed out. You know, looks rigid. One of few players to play with a keyboard cover. All right, the map is not going to be one that makes Hiva happy. It is in Tomb Valley. We have an invite to the lobby. Hiva is in, and Genius is being invited. He's now in as well. And Tomb Valley, a very good map to take a 3rd base on. Genius can easily get that 3rd base up early, destroy the rocks, make a double wall. Very hard for the Zerg to actually attack that location. There's 3 base timing attacks on this map. There's 2 base timing attacks with Immortals. There's late game. There's the Pit of Broods to the north and to the south, where Hiba's Broodlords can hang out and pick away at Genius's 4th base if the game comes to that. People have called this map, well, I was the first one to coin it, but people have adopted the term Vortex Valley because it used to be all about the late game. People have figured out these 3-base timing attacks though with Stalkers, Blink, +2, sometimes even +3 with Colossi. We'll see what Genius has up his sleeve. He is the master of deception. Nobody knows what he's going to do, and Hiba has a rough welcome here to the GSL. Already down a game. If he loses here, he's totally out. Would have had a very short-lived run. See what Genius has planned. This is the GSL Code A evening session with the Lone Wolf. See you guys on Entomb Valley.
All over the radio and back up in the raves again. We got the crowd on the way.